Hey, it's Beth here. Okay, episode 506. I saw Maestro a couple of days ago, like 3 days ago, and I've been trying to figure out what I thought. And it's Bradley Cooper, and it's Carey Mulligan, and the acting is great, but it's just such a one-dimensional story. They run the gamut of emotion from A to B, and it's such a complicated story. So I did some research on what really happened to this couple. And they tried to make it all about the love story, and they really should have made it a bit about his incredible career conducting. You could watch YouTube videos of him doing children's concerts, and he's so charming, and he's so exceptional, and he'll teach you all about the orchestra and symphonies. And it was so popular back in the day that they kicked the children out, all these adults, because they wanted to be there. It was standing room only. So they didn't capture that because they went for the love story, which could have been great. So they tell this story, and it's not happening, okay? The true story of the relationship is they started dating. She saw him, she loved him, then she found out he was gay. They broke up. She went with this guy named Richard Harnett. He is gorgeous, because she was an actress on Broadway, very talented, and from Chile, just a fabulous woman with a fabulous way. She fell in love with him. They were on their way to the altar when he got a coronary occlusion. Died instantly at 35. She goes back. Now she's old. Now she's getting on 30, and she wrote in some letters that she was desperate. It was sadder than sad how old she was. And she and Leonard got back together, and Leonard wanted a family. He'd been in therapy to try and not be gay, and he didn't like the world he lived in with all the scrutiny, and he wanted it to be easy. So they formed this union, and there was a very odd prenup, one of the first prenups in the history of the world. And all she wrote in the prenup was, "Don't embarrass me publicly." He broke up with a very serious boyfriend that he had, Tommy Cothran, to get married to her. Leonard told his sister, who was actually played by Sarah Silverman in the movie, and it could have been his great confessor, and we could have found out things about him, but we didn't. But in his letters to her, he did talk to her, and he did want a house in the country and children and everything. So they get together, they get married, and on the honeymoon, he's writing this play called Trouble in Tahiti on their honeymoon. And the play, it's not George and Martha, but it's close. It's about this couple that get together, get married, and they're both longing for intimacy and love, and all they have is the picture of it. And the play came out. It wasn't a big hit, but she saw it. It was not a lie to them that it wasn't all there. So they continue, they have the children. He's torn between being a conductor and a composer, and he did West Side Story, had big fights with Sondheim because Sondheim wanted him to not be so dramatic. So he was always miserable composing because people would give him all kinds of trouble. He did On the Waterfront and a bunch of other things. Finally, he goes into being a conductor. They have 3 children in the country. Everything goes great, except he's cheating on her constantly. And the deal is, keep it quiet. And he starts to get more and more reckless about it, which he only made her one promise. And he wasn't keeping it. And she was getting mad and embarrassed and mortified. So finally it got bad enough so that he went back with his old boyfriend, Tommy Cochran, and I saw a picture of him. Matt Bomer plays him in the movie. And he is as good looking as that in real life. He was a DJ in San Francisco, and he actually leaves his wife for him. Public humiliation beyond belief. She's sick. Now, a scene for Carrie that would have been great is what she really did was she had never made a promise that she wouldn't publicly humiliate him in public. So they were doing this thing that was on TV. It was very well done. It was the Peter and the Wolf. And he conducted and she narrated. Cheers, applause, everything was great. I'd seen it, everyone saw it if you were a kid in the 50s. It was great. But you didn't see this. At the end of it, 100 white roses, which was a lot back then, come up to the conductor, Leonard Bernstein. He grabs the white roses. He tries to hand them to his estranged wife, and they're pretending to be getting along. She looks at him. She's a great actress. Right about as she's going to take them in her arms, she briskly turns away, and all 100 roses fall to the ground in front of the audience. Silence. That's what she did. She doesn't get to do that in the movie. She's this long-suffering wife, which I just don't buy. I don't buy anybody is, ever. She's not even a drug addict. She's not even drinking. All she does is smoke cigarettes, and she is maintaining this constant cool. Well, she didn't in real life. She was furious because she caught Tommy and Leonard in bed together. That was the ultimate sin. She hated Tommy Cochran. We don't see that either. It would have been great to have seen all this. I would have been riveted if they just made this real. So, he did go back to his wife when she was dying, and he felt grief-stricken for the rest of his life that he caused her lung cancer. She was a smoker, I get it, but she was in her 50s because of all the stress that he gave her. So he really did take good care of her. After she died, he really let it out. And one of the first things he did afterwards was go to the White House for a special performance for William Huxley, who was a great pianist. And he was so terrific that at the end, William Huxley is talking to Jimmy Carter. Yes, that president. The peanut farmer, good guy. And Leonard puts his hands on William's shoulders and tells him what a great job he did, turns William around and gives him a big French kiss on the lips. Back in the day. Jimmy Carter left the building, mortified and angry, and that's sort of how he conducted the rest of his life. The weird thing is, he revisited Trouble in Tahiti after his wife had died. And there was a second play that he wrote about it. So in the first play, they're married, and they have this one child named Junior, sort of George and Martha, and we never see that child. And they try to get to the heart of what's wrong with their marriage, and all they do is yell at each other and throw things. So that was the play he wrote on his honeymoon, thinking there's a little problem. The sequel is that child and a daughter are born, and they get back together after the mother dies, and he's filled with remorse. He told his life story with the trouble in Tahiti. It's just so sad. And that would have been a great way to wrap the movie because it was true. And he died, his wife said, when he was cheating with, when he left her for Tommy Cochran, she said, "You're gonna die a bitter, lonely old man." And he did. So that's that would have been a much better story if you wanted to make it about their love affair. It is much more complicated than they have it in the movie. It's much harder. It's much harder to live a lie, especially back in those days. Well, anytime. But he, on his honeymoon, told us the entire thing. They couldn't find the intimacy. The deep longing stayed with both of them because it wasn't there. She said to him, it's not there, but we'll find a way and there'll be respect. But both of them wanted to have a real marriage. So, I mean, Carey Mulligan, give me a break. If she'd been on that stage and those 100 roses had come and she acted like she was taking them and she turned around, she would have killed it. It would have been amazing. And he would have been amazing in front of Jimmy Carter. Just the anger, and wanted to rip up his own life. But they just took those big moments away from themselves. I will say that Bradley Cooper does an excellent impersonation of Leonard Bernstein. And he gets to the physical man, but he never touches the heart of him. And there's no charm. Not that charm. The level of charm this guy had was like, it was like over the top. Bigger than Jeremy Irons, practically. So, just didn't touch it. And the Chilean wife, oh, she had an edge. She had an edge and she got angry. I will say they were good to their children. They were great parents. That's great. But the oldest daughter went to him and asked him if it was true, the rumors. And he lied to her and said it wasn't. And the daughter in her book said that she blames the mother for that. And I don't think you should blame the mother for that. But that's in the movie too. I mean, it's just Felicia bashing the whole time. She tried to make something. She tried to make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. You can't pretend. Not forever. So, and then she had a boyfriend who actually just wanted her to introduce him to another gay, amazing musician. Her life was so destroyed by this. But the real heartache and her real love was not Leonard. It was the man who died, the actor who died at 35 of a heart attack. She left everything with him. And she was just trying to cobble something, just like he was trying to cobble something. And maybe if they'd been more honest, it would have worked. But she gave him one prenup. Do not embarrass me publicly. And he didn't do it. He promised he would. He promised her 1,000 times that he would. And he didn't. So, that should have been a big part of the story. Anyway, big waste of another movie where we're just not going deep, not telling stories, just looking at, I don't know, cartoon caricatures of what might be. And you know it, you can feel it. You can feel that so much is missing. So I was just so hopeful that it was going to be great because Carey Mulligan was in it. They didn't let her do anything. So, I mean, all she does is pensive look after pensive look. Okay? And she's probably going to get an Oscar for it. But I just wonder what she could have done if they'd left a little meat on that bone. So, that's all I've got. And I will be back. Thanks.